All right, today we are going to continue talking about unemployment. And the first topic that we're going to cover today is going to be what we call the types of unemployment. So we're going to start with types of unemployment. And I think what's important for us to know is that last lesson we talked about calculating unemployment and who was unemployed. And we need to know that every time an individual is unemployed, they fall into a specific type of unemployment. And there are four types that we use or talk about in economics. The first type, and these are in no particular order, the first type is what we call frictional unemployment. The second type is what we call structural unemployment. The third type is seasonal unemployment. And the fourth type of unemployment is what we call cyclical unemployment. And so every individual that is unemployed, and remember, you're unemployed if you don't have a job and you want a job. And so every individual that falls into that unemployed category is going to be fit into one of these four types of unemployment. So let's go through and come up with some examples of each type of unemployment. First, being frictional. We call frictional unemployment the short-term type of unemployment. So we'll put short-term. And it's short-term because it's a type of unemployment that doesn't last very long. Usually, if you fall into this category, it's you have the ability to not be unemployed or to be employed in the near future. And so some examples of people that fit into this frictional category are going to be people that are changing careers, people that are relocating, and people that are entering the workforce for the first time. And I guess it doesn't have to be for the first time, but it would be someone that, maybe was a stay-at-home parent, and so they weren't employed or unemployed, and they're deciding to go back to work. And while they go back to work and they're looking for that next job, they're going to be considered unemployed. Or it could be someone that is a student and they've graduated high school or college and now they're starting to look for a job. They're going to be considered frictionally unemployed as well. And so those are the main three reasons why someone would be frictionally unemployed. Second is what we call structural unemployment, and that is more of a long-term type of unemployment. And the reason why somebody would be structurally unemployed is because the structure of the job has changed, and so their job is no longer needed. An example of someone that's structurally unemployed would be that the job has changed. And generally that will happen because of new technology, or jobs could be outsourced because they're maybe cheaper to do somewhere else. And so the structure of the job has changed and jobs are leaving to go maybe to a different country. And so people that are doing that job here are no longer going to be employed doing that job. So we'll put outsourced. And so again, the reason why we call this long-term unemployment is because someone that is structurally unemployed has lost their job because the job has changed, and they're typically not going to get that job back again. You think when new technology happens and you lose your job because you've been replaced by some sort of a machine or computer, we don't usually see those machines and computers go away and then we hire the workers back. So somebody's going to have to look for a new job in a different career that is structurally unemployed. Next up is seasonal unemployment. Seasonal unemployment is pretty self-explanatory. This is the type of jobs that come and go with seasons. And so we'll just put down a couple of examples. And this could be, we'll say, a landscaper, or we'll just put down like a lawn worker. So if you mow lawns, you work on landscaping, typically as the seasons get colder, then those people are going to be unemployed because of that. If you work at, let's say, some sort of a, we'll say maybe an ice cream shop. Those people typically are going to be laid off during the winter months. And so you can go through a whole bunch of examples of why someone would be seasonally unemployed, but that is also a type of unemployment. And then the last type of unemployment is what we call cyclical unemployment. And this is the type of unemployment that changes as the economy changes or fluctuates. So we'll say this happens because of changes in economy, and an example would be an increase in GDP typically means that we're making more stuff, and so more jobs are going to be available, so the cyclical unemployment would go down. Or it could be a decrease in GDP, or sometimes we talk about recessions. And anytime we see these fluctuations in GDP, good or bad, we're going to see changes in the cyclical type of unemployment. And I think a good thing for us to know is that types 1 through 3 of unemployment are all going to happen no matter if the economy is good or if it's bad. We always have people that fit into that those categories. But the cyclical unemployment, that's the type of unemployment that economists don't like to see. That's the type of unemployment that only happens when our economy is not performing the way that we want it to perform. And so that, knowing that about the types of unemployment takes us to our next topic, and that's what we're going to call the natural rate of unemployment. So I think it's important to know that our economy naturally is going to have some people that are unemployed. The idea of having a 0% unemployment rate is not possible, because we are going to always have some people that fall into the frictional, structural, and seasonal unemployment categories. Okay? And so that takes us to what economists call the natural rate of unemployment, and that's the level of unemployment that our economy would be at when we're operating at our potential GDP. So let's jot this down. Let's say it's the level of unemployment when the economy is at potential. And typically, what we're going to say is that that natural rate of unemployment by percentage is usually equal to 4 to 6%, in that range. Okay? And we also refer to unemployment, or I'm sorry, the natural rate of unemployment, we'll say also known as full employment. So the natural rate of unemployment is when our economy has an unemployment rate of 4 to 6%, and we refer to this time frame or this scenario as full employment, meaning that we're employing all of our workers except for those that fit into the frictional, structural, and seasonal categories. Okay, and so I think that it's important to know as well that this 4 to 6% that we call the natural rate of unemployment, it's the healthy level amount of unemployment that we expect in our economy, that comes from adding together all of the frictional unemployment plus the structural unemployment plus the seasonal unemployment. And when you add those three types of unemployment together, that's where that 4 to 6% unemployment comes from, which means that when we are operating at our potential, the key is that we have 0% cyclical unemployment. And that's important. That's the type of unemployment that we really don't want. And when that unemployment is present, that's a sign that our economy is not operating up to its potential. Okay, last thing that we're going to cover today is what we call the limitations of unemployment. So we talked about the limitations of GDP last week, and those are factors that make the GDP statistic less accurate. The limitation of unemployment is the same thing. Let's put here, say limitation of the unemployment statistic. And there's really only one factor that causes unemployment to be less accurate. And that comes from a term that we call discouraged workers. So we're going to put down here discouraged workers. And these are a group of workers in our economy that basically want a job, but they've given up looking for a job. So we'll say individuals that want a job, but have stopped looking. Now the key, and the reason why these discouraged workers are a problem, is because as soon as they stop looking for a job, even though we know they want a job, as soon as they stop looking for a job, they don't fit the qualification anymore to be unemployed. So they're not considered a part of the labor force because they're not looking for work anymore. And so when they stop looking, that changes our unemployment statistic. Okay? So it's important to know that when we have, we'll say, an increase in discouraged workers, that causes a decrease in the unemployment rate. But think about this. When we have a lot of discouraged workers, that's a sign that our economy is really not doing well at all. Because that means that workers have been looking for jobs, and after looking for a long time, they've given up because they realize that there's not a job out there for them. And so this is a bad time in the economy, but our unemployment rate is falling. And so if we use unemployment as a measure of economic health, and we look just at the unemployment rate, a falling unemployment rate is a sign that the economy is doing well. And so this creates an issue or a problem with the unemployment statistic. Whenever we have a bad economy and discouraged workers become present, the unemployment rate is going to start to fall, even though the economy really is not improving. And that's why discouraged workers are a limitation. When they're present, they're a limitation to the unemployment statistic.